Good morning. Today I'm going to give you a tour of my room, which has recently got a new door. Next thing will be to fix the step. You can hear a squeaking step beneath my feet, and at the bottom of the stairs, there's one that feels like it's about to break. So I'll start off with, I think, just do a sweep and then maybe talk a bit about things that might see and what I've been doing. This is the tidiest probably the room has ever looked. Which is probably saying something about how messy it normally is. So this painting here, sometimes might see in the background if you've watched other videos, is by the artist John Barnard, Barnard, who you can find on Instagram. These are things that I've done, maybe events and cards from people. That's my first bowl that I made. That's when I did the scream and little bits and pieces. All of this stuff here and under the scarf, which is a present from my friend Molly. Underneath that is kind of set dressing for our next event, themed around the album Her Name is Yoshimi by the Flaming Lips. And then this is kind of what, the outward, I suppose this corner really, or this side, is the outward effort of creative ideas. And this wall, if we're thinking of sounds a bit grandiose, but I don't mean it that way. If we're thinking about this room as a temple, rather than just having an altar in the corner, this wall is earth. That painting is done by Sina, and her name is Hesina, and that is earth. So the picture and the character is representing of earth, and below that I've got books, things that I've written, things that other people have written as well that I'm about to read, writing that I've done, poetry that's printed out big to read out, and things like that. So the outward manifestation of the creative energy, earth, or you could say is a big mess. It depends on how you look at it. So I have not one but two clothes rail. The one that's covered up is just work clothes, so it kind of puts work away at the weekends, and that's just a whole rail of clothes. We used to live on a boat, so to have three clothes rails, there's another one behind me, is just an absolute luxury. And most of it's from charity shops, and it gets a lot of it doesn't always get worn all the time, but I've got more clothes than I need. So this is the painting that I've been working on. It just needs to be varnished, and it's going to have like a wand on it, and that just needs to be tied on with red thread, and then that's done. That is a painting that my husband did, and on the back it's just hung up with a bulldog clip, and on the back it says, "My love is in and around you." It's written in big letters. So I kind of have that as protection from work, and just to feel loved and stuff. And that wall is faces east, which is air. So it's also got a little, this was accidental, or is there such thing as an accident? A feather and a butterfly as well from a broken bookmark that I hang up there as well. It was always happened to be near there, and symbolizing air. And when I read this book about making a temple in your home, or if you can't make one, you have a floor mat, and the suggestion was blue, for blue like the sky, even though I think of this as sea, but it is also the direction of the sea. So it's the direction east, the element air, and that's associated with thinking ideas. And so when it's not the weekend, that's my desk for working and thinking and stuff. So, and it is also still thinking. I do my own writing on there at the weekends, and other creative stuff. And so I've got my Tracy Emin pictures that are kind of like a guide and a talisman. These are some books that I'm going to read. I went shopping at the bookshop in London, the original Occult bookshop, Atlantis, that's it. And yeah, so I got that, and I got that book there, The Wild Why, and that's my book. It's not really a diary, it's just what I use as a notebook. That's an ergonomic mouse, got long-term repetitive strain from writing too many notes. And yeah, so this is just the kind of end process of this painting being finished, and a mask to protect from the gold dust. Always the hand cream and the lip balm. And oh, who's this? That's Billy. Billy the cat. He's not the most incredibly cuddly, doesn't sit on laps and stuff, but he does enjoy a fuss and a play with a feather. And he's very lovable and lovely. And these are my batches of bowls. Next batch of bowls that I've been making. They're being bathed in the full moonlight. And this is a lovely moon calendar that got given. This is Goddess Green Tara. I've had this for a long time, maybe 17, 16 years. Advice from a long tarot session. Know you have everything. Surrender to intuition. Work with others. Let others help you. Control your imagination and use magic. Moon calendar for the year. And this is another John Barnard painting. We're not the same, and that's okay. That's what that's called. Butterfly. This is my kind of altar area, which I've sort of cleared a bit and dusted and refreshed a little bit for Ostara and spring. So it's got rabbits, hares, kind of beautiful things and colourful things, and some seeds for the butterflies and bees. I'll get another lot of planters next payday and plant another lot of those out. Cushions and a roll to sit on and a blanket, and underneath that is a big container full of ripped up paper. Little phone, a list for today, obsessed with lists, magic books currently on the go or learning about the aura. So I read most of that section the other day, and the advice was to heal holes in your aura, go and sit under a tree. And near where I live, there's not that many trees, but I went to the cemetery where there are lots of trees, and I sat under a tree, against a tree, sort of says sit against a tree, fed the squirrels and the pigeons, and yes, it was glorious. And I thought, why don't I do that more often? Because it's a joy. Tarot books, bits and pieces, all kind of things, and that's things that don't fit on the altar when the altar gets moved. Things get moved, you can't always have things the same all the time, because they'll just get fuller and fuller and fuller, and it gets too much. That's the box of paper for making bowls. I've always got more than I need. That's my kind of current list that's kind of covering the weekend ahead. Yeah, again, obsessed with lists. That's our Witch Club book wrapped up. A cat basket. I was going to put it in the cupboard, and the cat sat in it the other day, so it needs to stay out. A lovely ball. My third clothes rail, which is kind of, all my sort of weekend stuff. Again, more than gets worn. Peach cotton kimono style robe that is included in one of my poems. And I don't know if everyone else has this, like a clothes mountain. My mum used to have a kind of towel area, like a wooden oval rail kind of thing with rails on both sides, and that would be covered in clothes or a chair. And I've always had a chair, and now I have like a pile on top of a trunk. So I've recently sorted out in the trunk is now paints, some more stuff to do with paper and craft and things like that, so it looks a lot more tidy. And then I just folded up these are all things that have not dirty but not just out of the wash, so things that are on the go. I don't know what everyone else does with those things. I folded them up. And that's my coat, and that's my beautiful door. Oh, and above here this wall is west, so it's the same wall as the lovely door, the same wall as the John Barnard painting, which always kind of makes me feel used to make me feel quite frightened. It used to be on the landing about some, emerging figure. So I think it was kind of a sort of scary man or whatever. But now, I mean, I chose it, but now I think it's like, it's yourself emerging, and that maybe power and that change can be quite frightening, maybe. I don't know. Not scared of it anymore. And this is my first page of the Scream Bowls write-up text project. So it's somewhere to put all the feelings, a paper bowls, an exploded text art project by Rachel A.H. Excuse me. Meanwhile, while things that are visible are falling apart, something invisible is appearing. Things that are or were invisible are appearing, becoming visible. And I got rid of all the bowls and all the bits of cardboard that were sort of made kind of strange frames. There was like big bits of cardboard from boxes, the text printed on, quite big, very big in some cases. And sometimes it was tied with string, and it was like the sides of the box were folded with just a bit opening where you could read what there was inside, and they're creatively framed. And some of them were really, I really liked them, but I didn't keep any of them. And but I came across this the other day, and this is like the front page and the quote. So when I reframed all my Tracey Emin postcards, I framed this, even though it's got scribbles and stuff on the back. So this wall is faces west. So the element associated with that is water and emotions and feelings and intuition and all of that. So that's why that is on that wall. It's also the best wall to put it on, but that's just how things work out. So I'll just go through those elements again. So this wall faces west, associated with water, the element of water. So the direction west, the element water, and like emotions, intuition, processing feelings, the unconscious, that kind of thing. And then this faces north, the element of earth. So practical, what I've actually done, putting on events, doing things. Again, that's also just where the bookcase fitted, but you can see patterns everywhere you look, can't you? But I consciously thought of putting this table there with things that I've actually done, and then this is, things that are going on. And then facing east, the element of air, that's the desk and the thinky and the worky, and the feather and the butterfly. And then I didn't talk about this, but this is the element of fire. So fire, inspiration, spirituality. And it's got an altar with some tea lights on. I'm really OCD about fire and stuff, so I don't have any candles. But I kind of thought, well, if that picture is a bit fiery. And also downstairs, there's a wall and it's got a painting on that my husband and I did, and that is very much like fire and fireworks. So I think of that as being on the wall for that as well. So I'll just focus on the altar and say something else I wanted to talk about as well. And that was about grounding. And so this is around Ostara time, springtime, Easter time. And one of the things it says is it talks about seeds, rabbits, hares, and talks about spring cleaning. Now, I can't say that I've been spring cleaning. Actually, our vacuum cleaner's just broken. So I did shake out a rug yesterday. But I have tidied up my room, and I've tidied it up as, even though maybe that might be amusing, because it quite possibly looks quite a mess, depending on what everybody's rooms are like. But it is as organised as it can get. So I've kind of been spring cleaning with that, and that's what I've been doing this morning, just tidying up, and over the last few days just tidying, it gets messy again, tidying again, and that's very grounding for me. And then the other thing I did yesterday, when I got back from everything yesterday, I got home and I did some dancing, and that was really helpful as well. And the reason why I'd probably done that is because one of the psychologists at work was saying to somebody about that it's important to move, because otherwise the emotions just sit in your body and they get stuck. So we need to move, walk around, get some exercise, go outside. And at the time, in my head, I was a bit sniffy, thinking, because she was saying, research shows, thinking, I don't need research to tell me stuff like that. And I don't need research to tell me that yoga is beneficial and that meditate, in my head, just being sniffy, because they're just things that I'm personally into outside of work. And, it's like, yeah, I might not need to be told that there's research to back it up, but sometimes I do need to be reminded. And so I had a good old dance yesterday, just at home by myself. And yeah, it was very good. So yeah, all the movement and the grounding and the moving around, and it was tempting today to think, oh, I've got the loads of writing to do. I mean, this notebook here is just full of stuff to type up, but I just didn't want to be hunched over. You see bills again. I don't want to be hunched over a computer. So yeah, yesterday evening was movement, and then today was movement, but movement in a kind of tidying way. And that getting into your physical environment and into your body is very therapeutic, and that there's a time for all the introspection and there's a time for all the spirituality stuff. But I mean, it's all spirituality and it's all personal growth, but there's also a time for for resting, obviously, and a time for like what I always think of as that's often referred to as hearth and home. You know, you've got your esoteric spelly type stuff, and then you've got your just thinking about your place and the place around you. So